Hi everyone, April here and welcome to my channel and welcome to my September wrap-up. Yeah, I know, it's like almost the last week of October and I wasn't going to do this, but let's just say I was recently inspired, so let's do this thing. First up, this video is only going to be about the novels, the books that I've read. I'll do a separate video for comics. I think I just want to keep those separated for now because some people only come to my channel for my comic reviews or comic discussions, and I don't want to conflate the two too much. So the first book I read in September was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. It's about two people, Alexa and Drew. Alexa is a local in San Francisco who works in the mayor's office, I believe. She is visiting the hotel to meet her sister who's staying there. And Drew is a pediatric doctor from Los Angeles who is in San Francisco to attend a wedding. They get into the elevator at the same time. The elevator gets stuck. They wait out their time of being rescued by eating some snacks that Alexa has in her purse, and Drew relays his kind of apprehension about attending a wedding between his ex-girlfriend and a former close friend of his. They have a little instant chemistry. They get along really well. And by the end of their confinement, Drew takes the jump and asks Alexa to attend the wedding with him, kind of as a fake date, to kind of give him some buffer, and so he won't be at this uncomfortable situation by himself. Alexa not only takes pity on Drew, but she is somewhat attracted to him, so she agrees to do so. I think also another motivation is that she was recently called out for not being a risk taker and kind of like overthinking things, so this was her first opportunity to kind of like poo-poo that. So she jumps right in, and as things would naturally go, they get on very well at the wedding and things kind of progress from there. What can I say? What I liked about the story was that I thought it was well written. I really enjoyed both of the characters. I liked Alexa, I liked Drew, I liked their extended kind of universe. I liked Alexa's best friend. I like Drew's, I won't call him a best friend, but definitely his most true friend, Carlos. And what I really enjoyed was Alexa and Drew's relationship together. They were very mature and invested and respectful and committed in those moments, which I really, really enjoyed. It really was a nice interpretation of I would call a healthy relationship. And definitely a healthy, maturing relationship. Like, it started off very small and it got bigger and bigger. And as bigger things came along, they handled them in a respectful and compassionate way. They did take each other's opinions into consideration when issues did come up. But the thing was, there was some issues also. The anxiety to have of how does he feel or how does she feel just didn't come off true for either of them. Like I said, she works in the mayor's office. He's a pediatric doctor. They both are over 30. These people have lives and jobs that require them to make very tough decisions when under high pressure in short period of time. And for them to kind of not naturally move that into their private life just didn't ring authentic, not in the way it was presented here. I can understand maybe questioning somebody's emotional commitment to you regardless of your ability to communicate, and I felt like that was kind of an inauthentic roadblock to their relationship when they had so many tangible ones. Case in point, the distance. She lives in San Francisco. He lives in Los Angeles. Yes, they are both in the state of California, but considering the actual distance between those two places, you could put several states in between Los Angeles and California. That is not a natural or comfortable commute by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care how much money and access you have. So their distance apart and their commitment to their jobs was already a natural roadblock to them. It shouldn't have been easy for them to, like, I could just pick up and move, because it wasn't. That wasn't an easy choice regardless of how they felt about their jobs at the current moment. Also, the racial difference, she being black, he being white. It was played into the story, but it was never a true roadblock to their relationship, and it didn't have to be one, but it would have definitely been a much more authentic issue than the kind of false anxiety that was presented. I don't want to give a spoiler away, but there was an issue that happened at the wedding that could have definitely played out throughout the course of their relationship with a much more, which would have caused much more anxiety and maybe misdirection or misunderstanding than anything else that was presented. So I don't know why it was put there if it wasn't going to be flushed out later. I don't know if that was supposed to give us an insight into who Drew was or not, but it really didn't. It was just a thing that kind of happened but didn't go anywhere. But it could have. And again, it would have been a much more tangible kind of roadblock. And I shouldn't say roadblock. Let's just say a crossroads. It would have been a crossroads they needed to come to in order to have a conversation so they can move forward together. So not roadblock, crossroads. So there were a lot of issues, natural issues that could have formed organically from their relationship other than this kind of weird fake anxiety. That was probably my sticking point, as you can see, of this book. If you're getting on a plane from San Francisco or Los Angeles and travel to the one place every other weekend, let me tell you, that person better like you, or he's crazy. I mean, unless you paying them, they like you, girl. You don't have to question it. They like you. But yeah, overall, I think I gave this book 4 stars. I did enjoy it, like I said, when they were in the relationship, when they were in the bubble of the relationship, they were so present in the moment. That was just beautiful. But all that other stuff was just kind of like, I will say that I am interested in reading the second book. I forgot what the name of it is, but it's supposed to center around Carlos, Drew's best friend, who I really loved in this book. He was somebody who didn't hold up a mirror, but he held up a Polaroid because mirrors lie. So he was definitely showing Drew his true self and trying to get him to stop acting like a jerk. So I really enjoyed Carlos. I'm very interested in reading his story, his romance, and hopefully he brings some of that tangible understanding and intelligence to his relationship. But from what I'm hearing, that may not be the case. But I'm gonna judge for myself. So my second book, I didn't finish. I'm not gonna call it a DNF because I do plan to continue to read it at a later point. I just got to a point where I just didn't want to read it anymore. And that is My Plain Jane by Cynthia Han, Rhodey Ashton, and Jody Meadows. And I believe this is a part of a anthology about historical Janes, like Lady Jane Grey, and this is Jane from Jane Eyre, and I guess they'll do some more in the future. What this book is about is supposedly a kind of a retelling of Jane Eyre, and when they say entirely faithful but not really, they honestly mean that. It's not really a retelling, and I think that's where I kind of got disillusioned by it. So it does have definitely the skeleton of Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is in here, Rochester is in here, Thornfield Hall is in here, and all the crap that goes on there is definitely played out. But to me, this is playing out more like a fictitious historical biography about how Charlotte Bronte got the idea for Jane Eyre. And where I don't necessarily have a problem with that narrative, in fact, I did like the storyline around Charlotte Bronte and her kind of being at the school and then becoming part of the society and doing all of this investigation. I thought that was really interesting. But it's not a Jane Eyre retelling. And I think that's where it's tripping me up. I couldn't just reconcile. I think I was in the mood for Jane Eyre and a retelling of Jane Eyre of some type, and that is not what I was getting from this book. Like I said, they do have details of the Jane Eyre tale in here, but that's not a retelling if you're just kind of feeding it out to kind of drive another story. That's what I kind of feel like. I feel Jane in this particular tale is kind of an appendage to someone else's story, and also She doesn't feel like the Jane from the original story. There's something a little more flighty and a bit ridiculous about this interpretation of her than the girl with the weight on her shoulders and the introspection and the contemplation of how she is trying to fight for some semblance of a life for herself in the original tale. Now, of course, that is me kind of filtering that through my own lens on both of these narratives, but that's how it came across to me. And I think the more and more I dislike Jane in here, the less I was enjoying this story. Now, Jane's friend, and I can't remember her name in this, I enjoyed her. She was funny as hell. Excuse my language, but yeah, I liked her. So it's nothing about the writing style. It's not even a problem with the narrative in and of itself. And I think I just got disillusioned when I realized I wasn't going to get what I was after. So now that I know what it is, when I'm in the mood for this, I'm going to pick it back up and continue to read it or start over, however long that takes. But as of right now, I just didn't feel like I wanted to continue reading the book. I'm a mood reader. I think I've said that like a million times already. I'm a mood reader. If it's not satisfying what I'm after, I just go on to the next thing. And that's exactly what happened with this. No shade, just 100% honesty. So the next books are all Kindle reads. So I'm going to use my trusty phone to keep me in line and just post the image here. The first one up is Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. So this is the first book in the A Detective by Day mystery series that Kelly Garrett has started. It's about a young actress named Dana Anderson. Well, I should say former actress. She is kind of in between careers right now and she is hard up for money. And unfortunately for her, she is kind of a peripheral witness to a crime. Peripheral in that she didn't see the crime in and of itself, but she did see the assailant kind of getting away. And on the news, she sees that they are offering a $15,000 reward to any information that may lead to the capture of this assailant. So that's how she kind of jumps into the whole novice PI business. And from that point on, it is just a roller coaster ride of whodunit. I mean, every person she meets is a potential suspect. However, in her mind, every person is the perpetrator. So it gets a little crazy with her constantly like, I think they did it. Oh, I think they did it. No, I think they did it. At one point, I thought, is my name going to show up in this book? Because I live in Los Angeles. Did I hit this girl? She accused everybody. But this plays out very well within the story because it informs that she is a true amateur. She has no idea what she's doing and she's getting more lucky about her advancement with the case as opposed to using critical thinking and investigative skills. If she didn't have the help of her friends and another PI, girl, the story in and of itself was a lot of fun. All of the characters that were really fleshed out were great people. I mean, her best friends are just so colorful and full of life. They had lives of their own. It didn't revolve around Dana, but it was a nice appendage to what was happening in the story, so it didn't feel disconnected and you weren't ever taken out of the initial plot. And even the kind of not professional detective or sleuth that was somewhat assisting her. I'm not sure who was assisting who there, but he was great. He was quirky. We don't know a lot of details about him, but there were some breadcrumbs laid down about his past, and I'm sure they're going to play out further in the future. But what we got of him was really well done, and I really enjoyed when he showed up on the scene because he was interesting in the way that makes you go, what's he about? So I did like that. She was able to create some really interesting and compelling characters, and they had a lot of fun. I know it's a somber case, but they had a lot of fun kind of investigating it, and I thought that was really well done. The only negative I really have about it really kind of relates back to the twists and the turns, a lot of misdirection and her constant kind of pointing at people that they did it. It was just maybe one too many of those. And it may just be because I've read a lot of thrillers and watched a lot of thrillers that I already kind of knew who did it. from several chapters back, but I was invested enough in the story and the characters to keep moving on because it was a really good story. But with so many attempts of misdirection, I was just tired. I became fatigued. I didn't want to do this anymore, and I just wanted to get to the resolution already. I want to highlight the relationship between Dana and the 911 operator. Those were some of the best moments in the entire story. They were so funny. They were so funny because Dana, of course, doesn't know what she's talking about and doesn't know what she's doing. And the 911 lady, or the hotline woman, was just kind of like, she's probably heard some of the craziest crap come through her phone, that Dana calling up every single day with another hypothesis of who done it was just perfection. It was so funny and so well done that honestly I could have had a little more of that. Maybe not too much. No, it might have been just enough, but it was just so good. That part is really good, and I think a lot of people probably enjoyed that the best too. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy the story, and I do plan to continue with the series. I think Kelly Garrett's got something here. I don't read a lot of these kind of cozy mysteries, you would say. Usually, I just kind of watch that stuff on Hallmark Channel. But yeah, I think I might start picking up more of these because I really did enjoy this, and I want to continue on. So the final two books I'm going to talk about are from the same author and the same series. So I'm going to talk about them kind of together. And they are Hate to Want You and Wrong to Need You. And they are from the Forbidden Heart series by Alicia Rai. I don't know how I got turned on to these. I think it was something on maybe BookTube or Goodreads. I'm not sure. But either way, thank you, whoever pointed me in this direction, because I loved these books. I love this series. I love this series so much. It was so well written. Now, these are some steamy romances. So if steamy romances isn't your thing, just keep it pushing. But otherwise, these were great stories. So I'm going to start with the first one is The Hate to Want You. The first book, A Hate to Want You, is arguably my favorite book in the series. It's about Olivia and Nicholas. They are basically Romeo and Juliet. They are from two separate families who at one point were very close, but a tragedy occurs and then a betrayal off of that tragedy breaks the whole families apart, and they are now very against each other. And this has a tragic effect on their relationship where they break up and don't see each other for a decade. Well, not necessarily. They do see each other once a year on Olivia's birthday, where they basically hook up for one night and then don't speak or talk to each other after that. But Olivia's mother is injured. I think she took a spill in her house, and Olivia comes back to town in order to kind of care for her mother. At least that's the reason why she says she's coming back to town. But Olivia has done a lot of soul searching and personal growth, and she is ready to kind of face some of her demons head on. So she makes her way back into town, and her doing so kind of creates this ripple effect of everybody kind of dealing with their shit, excuse my language, throughout the course of 3 books. What I loved about this story was their relationship. I did really like Olivia from Straight Out. I thought she was a great, strong character who wasn't so strong that she didn't feel anything. She felt everything, but was honest about her struggles and her pain and her apprehension, but understood that she needed to put one foot in front of the other in order to deal with these issues as they came up. Not that she didn't take a couple of steps back occasionally, but she was, you know, she had a nice support system there in order to kind of pick her up and then let her move forward. And I liked that. I thought that was well played out. And what I also liked was Nicholas too. I mean, there was nothing not to like about him. Yeah, he made a couple of snap judgments and may have done things poorly, but when you understand the entire narrative of their story, even from the first book, you could see how this could detrimentally affect somebody's relationship with even somebody they love as deeply as Nicholas loved Olivia. So I didn't see anything he did came from a hateful or negative place. He himself was hurt and damaged, not just by their relationship, but by other things that were going on within their respective families that were eventually kind of uncovered throughout the story, which was also what was great about it. Their love for each other was never the problem and technically never in question, but they were true damaged and broken people who needed to heal in order to come back together. And I thought it was just well done within this first book. I love that part about it. Oh, the steamy parts were nice and steamy. So I like that. I like the nice steamy parts. Alicia Rye knows how to write a sex scene, y'all. Woo. But yeah, it was really well done. It was very romantic to me, and I really enjoyed this tale. I thought she has a great voice. Alicia Rye has a great writing voice, and it was really the thing that compelled me to read the rest of the series. So jumping into the second book, we have Wrong to Need You. And this is about Sadia and Jackson. Sadia is Olivia's best friend, and Jackson is Olivia's brother. Sadia used to be married to Olivia's older brother, Paul. Paul is deceased recently. I think he died maybe a year before the events in the first book. The reason why they're not supposed to be together is not so much family division in of what Olivia and Jackson have. The reason why people may have a problem with them being together is because Sadia used to be married to Jackson's brother, and now he would be stepping into his place. So yeah, people do have issues with that in the current times. People do have issues with that. So that is kind of the reason why there's apprehension about them being together. Now, I didn't like the second book as much as I liked the first one because I felt that Sadia and Jackson's story just didn't get enough airtime. To be perfectly honest with you, Olivia and Nicholas's story somewhat eclipsed theirs at certain points throughout the book that I just kept getting disconnected from them. It kept jumping back to Olivia and Nicholas when it should have, I felt that the narrative should have just kept going with Sadia and Jackson. I did get backstory on Sadia. We do understand her relationship with her family, her feelings about her previous husband. And that's all good, but it could have been more. I definitely could have used some maybe back flashes or some story kind of fleshing out her relationship with Paul, a character who has a very prominent place in the narrative throughout the three books, but who's never really fully explored at all. I think Sadia and Jackson's story would have been a perfect place to flesh out his narrative because of Sadia's relationship to Paul. She was married to him. She lived with him. She had a child with him. She knew him better than anybody. And I felt that if we were he was going to be such a prominent person within this overall narrative, her giving more details about him through her would have been appropriate, as opposed to kind of, instead of expanding Olivia and Nicholas's story. But that's just my opinion. As for Jackson, we do get some details about Jackson. He's very reclusive. I won't call him shy, but he's definitely somebody who likes to keep his distance. And we get a lot of who he is and what he thinks through his internal dialogue. But then again, we could have gotten more. Also, his relationship with Sadia, his relationship with Paul, definitely, since it plays such a big part into Sadia and Jackson's relationship. That would have been nice to have been more fleshed out. I think that's really what kind of threw me off with this story, is that I just didn't get enough of the two leads and I got too much of other people, if that makes sense. But overall, again, the writing was great. Like I said, Alicia Rye knows how to write a good sex scene, y'all. There's some good ones in this one too. Not as many as the first one, but you know, when it gets hot, it's hot. I thought the family dynamic was very interesting. I do see how it all connects into the overall story, especially when you get to book 3. It kind of all mushroom clouds on you and like, oh, all the mysteries are out now. Each book pretty much reveals a mystery about the families, so this book is no different. Yeah, it was well written. The pacing was good except for the breaks when it came to talking about Olivia and Nicholas. And that's pretty much, I think I've hammered that point home. A little less about them next time, a little more about the lead characters. But otherwise, yeah, I gave Hate to Want You 5 stars. I gave Wrong to Need You 3 stars. Yeah, that breaking up just really kind of did me in. But otherwise, yeah, I still recommend this series wholeheartedly. I do recommend reading all 3 books. If you enjoy the first one, just read all 3 of them, because you really do get an ending with that 3rd book. Girl, stop talking about that book. Anyway, yeah, I recommend both of these books. So that's what I read for September, novel-wise. Did you read any of these stories? If you did, let me know in the description below. Yes, I am still in my, I guess, contemporary romance or steamy romance mode right now. So if you have some suggestions for me, please drop them below. I'll be more than happy to peruse them, because yes, I am burning up my Kindle, reading these stories and loving every minute of it. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because your support is always appreciated. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.